wiring. It is something that, you know what, it doesn't matter if it's a motorcycle, if it's an old car, if it's a hot rod, if it's something new, it can be extremely intimidating. Why? Because of this. I mean, let's be honest. Who in their right mind would want to have to try and figure this out? I know I don't. This is like an ultimate nightmare trying to think of like, okay, well, I guess I got to trace all of these and figure out somebody else's concept of what they were doing. There's no way this is factory. This is not factory wiring. Yes, this bike is 50 years old, 52 years old almost, but there's no way that this was factory. So I'm going to tell you guys right now, hands down, that when it comes to messing with this type of stuff, just don't. Just don't. Just strip it out and start over. You know, that's the funny thing about wiring is that when it comes to doing this, oh, absolutely, it's intimidating. It'd be intimidating to anybody. But for me, myself, it's one of the beauties of building choppers. It's the fact that, well, this sucker's getting torn down to the bare frame anyway. So obviously, I'm not keeping any of this stuff. So what am I going to do? I'm going to rip every bit of it out and start over fresh. So today on Weird Beer Custom, we are stripping every bit of this out because none of it is good. None of it is something I want to try and go through the headache of reusing when I can very easily just rewire this thing from scratch and know exactly what color wires go to what and what I'm dealing with. So stick around and watch, and we're going to rip all this crap out.
Warning: My dad is just an average idiot. He is no way, shape, or form a professional, so do not do what he does. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Remember, don't do dumb stuff.
And I get it. It might be intimidating. To the average person to look at this, this is extremely intimidating. Like, where does this go? Why is there a random LED bulb right here? Obviously, they wired in a cigarette lighter plug, trying to charge a phone or, using it for what it was originally designed for. But we don't need this crap. Because the one thing that a lot of people don't realize is an old motorcycle like this one, like this shovelhead, needs about 6 wires to run. That's it. It needs a charging system, it needs an ignition system, and it needs a couple lights. That's it. Literally, headlight, tail light, brake light, ignition, charging. That's it. And all this other crap that you can get rid of, do it. If you want to try and keep a stock style setup with a speedometer and an original style ignition switch and maybe some dummy lights, that's fine too. And you can add that. The trick of all of it is realizing that you are better off to rip out everything and start over than you are to try and figure out somebody else's nightmare. So you know what? Let's do it. Let's cut this crap out of here. What on earth made somebody think that this was good? Obviously, this must have been taillights. Now, granted, I will say that it's why it's wired to this. Couldn't tell you. Like, it makes me feel like at least they were trying to use some of the original stock wiring, but when it comes to these tiny little things, why? So, guess what we're going to do? We're going to take these right here and we're going to snippy snip it. Because just like that, junk, trash. That's where it belongs. None of this crap is salvageable. None of it is needed. None of it is something that I want to try and reuse, especially considering I'm cutting this frame in half and welding on a hardtail anyway. So this crap isn't going to be needed on there. All it is junk to get in the way. Now, I will say this much. Rather than just ripping it all out, I am paying attention to what is where. And, obviously this is a power wire coming from the solenoid on the starter. So that's something that, you might want to pay attention to. But all of this junk, all of this This, the love of God, at some point you have to acknowledge that it's just a mess. So, I don't know. I just, this is speaker wire. This is speaker wire. And I would be willing to bet that this speaker wire that runs to this little on and off switch, yeah, there's the power, there's the on and off. They absolutely had some kind of stupid lighting on this thing. Look, literally, speaker wire run in to like 14 gauge power wire. And come on, guys, do better than this. Do better than the electrical tape, because we don't need this anymore. We don't. There's too many good things that you can use so that you don't have to do this. Me personally, I absolutely love the new. Well, let me show you. These heat shrink solder connectors are genius. You literally put one end of the wire in one end of the wire in the other end, make sure they're touching in the middle where the solder is, and then use a heat gun and blast it, and it connects, and it makes a waterproof soldered connection. Now, I will say, me personally, I like to use a little bit of extra heat shrink. Like, I even buy the big heat shrink like this in long sections, because I will put this over top of that, and you can make a wiring harness from this. That's it. Like, once you realize just how easy wiring can be when you do it from scratch, it ends up being something that I find soothing. I find enjoyable to start from the beginning and wire the whole motorcycle, because in my brain I can pick out, okay, well, I want yellow for my headlight, I want blue for my high beam, I want purple for my tail light, and I'll use yellow for the running light. That way I know the yellow system, well, that's headlight, tail light, running lights. The blue is just for the high beam, the purple just for the brake light. Those are the types of things that once you figure that out, oh, it's so easy. Literally, it becomes something that I I will happily sit with a bare motorcycle and string out all my wires, determine what I'm going to internalize, determine what part of the wiring harness they're going to be. Like, it's just, it's my zen, if you will. And this stuff isn't expensive. Thanks to the Jungle website, you can literally get on there, order a whole multi-pack of all the different wires in different colors. That's what I did. I've got a milk crate that has like 13 or 14 different spools of all kinds of different colored wiring. And I bought these, like, maybe $100 to have it all. And obviously you're not going to use it all the first time you use it. So you have it on hand. Matter of fact, it's going to be part of my pegboard, because that's how I like it. I like to put just all my wiring in one spot where I can just reach over and, hey, I need 6 foot of blue wire. Pull it off, cut it, bang. Like, even went so far when I was wiring Gypsy to put together a cart. I just had my wiring cart with all my different colored wires, all my different gauge wires, all my different connections. And there's no reason you can't do that. And here's another one of those things that you don't do. Like, this plate is part of the backbone of the motorcycle, right? It's welded on. This is where your tank would connect. They ran all of this wire through here. Sure, it cleaned it up, but look, you have literally chunks of metal on the motorcycle, and you have these wires right here where you're just asking for this to rub through this casing and then this to cause a short. And I, it's astounding. It's so just astounding to me to think that anybody would think this was a good idea. I just, Yeah. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I am not a professional in any way, shape, or form. Do you know how I learned how to do this? I did it. Simple as that. I'm the person that I don't pay people to do things. Why? Because I can figure it out. Someone else can do this. I can do this. And the sooner you figure that out for yourself, the sooner you will realize that it's really not that hard. You know, a lot of the flashy, crazy motorcycles are literally just smoke and mirrors. It's a bunch of paint that makes you go, ooh, I bet they put a lot of time out. Like, look, right there. Perfect example right here. I just pulled this wire out and look how it's cracked. And who knows where that was arcing to on the frame, or what that was in close proximity of. All I know is it's broken. That is trouble waiting to happen. Because the other thing that people don't realize is you have these heads right here. You have all this wiring right here. What comes off of these? Heat. Heat comes off of these. And what does wiring not like? Especially the casing of it doesn't like heat. You put wires in a hot spot that isn't designed for it, and what's going to happen? They're going to get brittle and the casing's going to break just like that. And for the love of God, stop putting this chintzy AutoZone LED crap on these motorcycles. Again, it's one of the things I love about old motorcycles because I like to do what I call period correct, or at least inspired by. Like, this motorcycle should not have anything LED on it. Nothing. Because it never came that way. It wasn't designed to come that way. And I get it. There are people that like to mix the modern with the antique. I am not that person. Like, when I had my Road Glide, I put LED lights on it. And that bike was an '03. It wasn't, a 74. And I struggled with that because, to me, I hated the idea of putting LEDs on it. But it was a rider, so I did. But when it comes to like chopper stuff, don't. Just don't. Remember this when you're doing something to your motorcycle. Remember to ask yourself this question. Am I doing this for me, or am I doing this because I think I'm adding value, or because I think other people will think it's cool? Because if you're doing it for that reason, then just don't. Literally, just don't. If you're doing it for you, fine. We all have our own styles. We all have our own opinions of what we think is cool. And for that, I can't really fault people. I'm the type of person that I don't really care if you like it. I'm going to do it because I like it. And if that's why you're doing it, then that's fine. But but remember this always. You're not adding value to the motorcycle. You're not adding value to said thing unless you find that one in a million person who also likes what you did and wants to pay you for what you did. Because I'm the type of person that 9 times out of 10, when I find things like skulls on a brake lever, I'm going to do one of two things. Either this is just going to go straight in the trash, or I'm going to cut this off and throw that in the trash. Because that, in my opinion, is douche canoe to the 1,000th percentile. Like, this to me just screams, I think I'm a badass, even though I'm just some dude who has a motorcycle. But again, to each their own. If that's your thing, cool. Keep it. Just keep it. Keep the stock parts and put those back on when you get rid of it. Because that, to me, adds more value. One of the craziest parts about working from home is the fact that life still happens while I'm working. And sorry, I had to take a break for a moment because we have this cat that lives in our basement, not because we want it to, but because he was a stray. And we took him in because a friend of my wife's said that she wanted him. And he's a sweetheart. Like, he's really a good animal. But he does not do well with other animals. So the kids got the bright idea of, well, let's try and, socialize them. Let's try and get them together and see what they do. And you know what they do? The cat runs and hides, and the dog barks at him like crazy because my dog doesn't know him very well and thinks that he's just some stray cat that made its way into his house and doesn't understand it. So I had to take a break to settle all of that down. And now I don't know where I was. I don't. So let's start over. Let's do this again. We were talking about wiring. We were talking about the mess that is wiring. And we were talking about the fact that it's just easier to just start from scratch and do it yourself. And the fact that me personally, I like to use a fuse block and maybe one relay as opposed to the four that they have here. So let's get back to the project at hand here, because the project at hand is cutting all of this shit out of here. I think I was saying something about not doing this because we have a blue wire and a black wire that go into some kind of speaker wire, and then this turns into a green wire, which then turns into a black and red wire. Don't do this type of crap. Not only, not only are you doing yourself a disservice by doing this, but most importantly, if you sell your motorcycle or someone else gets it later on down the road, do you want them to have to strip everything out and start over? Or do you want them to be able to actually maybe diagnose something if it's a problem? Um, I yeah. This and here's the better part even. This one goes from black and red to yellow. So black and red, yellow, green, um, both just all black, and then black and blue. And where does it all go to? Um, it all goes to the flasher, but we don't need that. I don't know. It's a mess. Oh, look, another relay. There's a flasher. I don't know. So they basically what they did was they had it running from the starter and the battery to this relay, and then they had this power running up to here, and from there to the ignition. I will say this much though. When it comes to actually dissecting what somebody else has done, it can help you in the terms of understanding how motorcycle wiring works. People ask me all the time, how did I learn how to do this stuff? And it's simple. I just did it. But the one thing that I don't say is that I learned a lot of how things work by taking them apart and figuring it out. Figuring out that, okay, well, the power runs from here to there to there to there, and then this works this way, and so on and so on. And I know in this video, obviously, I'm not going to show you guys how to rewire a motorcycle from scratch because there's a long way to go before this thing gets wired, obviously. Like, it's going to become a bare frame motor on my workbench, like built from the ground up. Matter of fact, wiring is going to be one of the last things that happens because it doesn't happen until after everything's even painted, for that matter. I honestly feel like at the moment I'm teaching you guys more about what not to do as opposed to what to do. Because like I said before, this stuff, don't do this. Don't run wires through pinch points where they could possibly very easily create a problem that could burn your motorcycle down. Because that's what it's going to do if you're not careful. You're going to not realize that this wire inside of here has been rubbing for however many hundreds of miles and now is nothing more than a place to create problems. Pinch points. They're important. They're important to pay attention to. It's also why when you run wires through anything metal, you want to make sure that they're encased. Like I wouldn't have even had so much of a problem with this if the whole thing was put together like a wiring harness and then ran underneath of. But when you're just running loose wires with, millimeters of casing on them, you're asking for problems. And you know what? Here's something that I want to dispel, and y'all are going to see over time. There's this stigma with choppers about being sketchy. They're only sketchy if they're built sketchy. If you do it right to begin with and pay attention and know what you're doing, I firmly believe that I can build a motorcycle that's actually more reliable than a factory bike. I have the proof to show it. The last two motorcycles that I built are still running with no major problems. Gypsy went to Cody out in the Midwest. I always say Missouri, but I think it's actually Oklahoma. And I got a random text from him not that long ago saying, hey, 6,000 miles on the bike, no problems. If you do it right to begin with, they don't have to be sketchy. If you do it sketchy, you're going to be sketchy. So if you want to build something you can rely on and ride, now granted, everything's going to have problems now and then. Even new motorcycles have problems from time to time. But that's where this and doing it yourself comes in. Because if you can diagnose it yourself and you can say, oh, okay, well, you know what? It's not getting spark to the ignition. So obviously I know that this is where the problem in the wiring is. And I know that this color wire is what this is. So I can search it and I can figure out, okay, well, this is what the problem is. Again, not rocket science. In my opinion, it's pretty common, just common sense to just be like, okay, well, this would be the better thing to do. Baffling. All right. There's my blinker relay. I will hang on to that because I might reuse it depending on if we decide to put turn signals on this thing. Bottom line is every single bit of this atrocious wiring needs to come out. Oh, look, we have how many grounds run to the same self-tapping screw in the frame. Smart. Genius. I've realized that I come across as being grumpy and working on this, but that's just because you guys are only seeing this part of it. Because right now it's just dealing with other people's nightmare. It's bringing this thing in and going, ugh. Why would someone paint those bolts red? Why would someone paint this shifter like it's red? Why would someone do this? Why would someone put these god awful floorboards on this thing? I don't know. Where the excitement and the fun comes is once it's just completely blown apart and it's no longer someone else's mess. It's my mess. That's when you get to see me being stoked on look at what I'm doing. Look at this thing and how smart this is and why you need to do it this way. Because right now it's a whole lot of just simply um, ugh and just don't do this. Make sense? Okay. So at this point, we are now just dealing with pulling crap like this out. Don't try to save this stuff. The relays, fine. Circuit breakers, fine. Switches, fine. The wires themselves, just throw them in the trash. Just throw them in the trash and use the new wiring that I told you about. And you will not only be happier, but you will get a much cleaner, understandable, usable, snippy, snip, snip final product. Trash. These are the speedometer. And yeah, that thing's usable, so I'll keep it for the most part as more speaker wire. Why is there speaker wire on a motorcycle? You tell me, because I'm I I don't know. I just don't know. Let's unscrew this. So how was everybody's Thanksgiving? Did you have a good Thanksgiving? I did. Not gonna not gonna complain about it. I will say that football this year has been just I don't even understand it. And it's not just simply because I'm a Chiefs fan. It's because I don't understand how nothing is predictable. Like you can't watch any game right now and think, oh, well, I know who's going to win because you have the Bears doing what. Yeah. Anyway, speedometer cable that runs off the transmission. All right. Let me get a. That was a dummy light. I will say, and pay attention to this too. When you are cutting these wires, don't cut them too. Oh, look, I just cut this wire out, and there's no tape, no nothing. It's barely hanging on by a thread where it was just twisted together. How did Joey from Full House do it? Cut it out. Cut it out. That's what you remember. That's what we need to remember. Because with every snip, snippy, snip, snip, I'm getting rid of crap that isn't even connected. I will now keep in mind too, the guy that this came from did say that this motorcycle was owned by some kid that he bought it from. And I don't want to fault the younger generation because I know that you got to start somewhere. Speaker wire. Like I'm kind of intrigued to figure out where this speaker wire is even coming from. Because why is it even on this motorcycle? Anyway, back to what I was doing. You know what's funny about tearing one of these down is that once you've done it a couple times, a couple 10 times, you realize that it actually goes pretty quick. That what is this? It's another LED flasher. Anyway, like there's no reason why I couldn't have this bike torn down to the bare frame today if that's what I decided to do. And it's why a lot of times when you guys see these YouTube videos of people doing this stuff, it seems like it comes across very quickly, but um, it does if you've got the experience. But more than anything, is they're just not taking it step by step like I do and like I am. You're not seeing the trash that's being pulled out. You're not seeing the 10 times of grabbing the wrong wrench, the you know the normal stuff that we have to deal with. The spending 2 minutes taking these bolts out because they're kind of a pain. So I had this idea the other day when it comes to music in these videos, because I'm sure you've all figured it out that when it comes to these long form videos, especially, you can't have anything that is music that's owned that has its rights owned that isn't copyright free. And I think that they're leaving money on the table by doing that. I really think that, me personally, if I'm scrolling just on my phone and there pops up a video and that video has a song that I really like, I'm going to be more tempted to stay and watch the video to hear the song. And it's why I think that they need to make it so you can just buy the song to put in your video. Because if I put any song, if I even had the radio on right now, any monetization of this video I'm making, well, I would lose that. I would lose all of it to the person that owned the copyright of the music that was in the background. So to get around that and to make it so that bands make music or make money from this, why not just, okay, well, $3.99. $3.99 for every song I want to use in my video. And the band gets paid. I get to keep whatever money is made from the video because I paid for the right to use said song. And not every video is going to pop off because that's always the thing. It's, oh, well, if the video goes viral because of the song, then shouldn't the person who owns the rights to the song be the one making the money? I don't agree with that, because that's like saying that movies shouldn't make any money if they have a soundtrack. No, they pay for the right to use the song in the movie on the soundtrack, and it benefits everybody. So why can't they make it so that the platforms that have music that you can attach to your videos, if everybody pays $2.99 to use the song, then who's it hurting? It benefits everybody. It's another way for artists to make money from their music, and it's also another way for people like myself that create content to be able to say, "Hey, this is a band that I love, and I want to use their music in my video." I don't know. It'll never happen. It's just one of those thoughts. All I know though is that it'd be way cooler if it was possible, if we could do that. I think it's about time I break out one of my totes to start putting stuff in. But look, all of that mess gone. This goes to the starter. This is ignition. This is battery. All of that other mumbo jumbo crap gone. We did something. Ohio, winter. Can't get away from being sick. Just can't. Not possible. Sorry, I'll cut that out. So what are we going to do next? Oh, you know what I can do next? Is I can tell you guys about what's coming next. So I've had for years, people ask me, every time I post a video of any of my paint jobs. How do you do that? How is it that you manage to get that kind of paint job in a garage with rattle can? And you know how I do it? I do it through determination and sure absolute stubbornness. That's how I learned it. But how I'm going to show you guys is because right down there on the floor, well, let me get it. I have this brand new mini peanut tank from Throttle Addiction that I am going to be taking from bare metal, straight out of the box as you see it, and turning it into a finished product full paint job. And I'm going to give you guys a chance to win it. So not only am I going to show you step by step by step from beginning raw steel, oily, icky, this to finished project and how you can do it, but one of you is going to end up getting this mailed to you and maybe build a bike, from this tank or one badass wall hanger. And all you have to do to get in is subscribe. Subscribe. That's it. Subscribe to my channel on the place where you're already watching this. Or if you're seeing this as just a little clip it, then make sure you're following me here and you go over to the tubies of Ubies and follow me there and subscribe and set your notifications so that you know when new videos pop up. Because as soon as I hit 2,000 subscribers, all of the names of you guys going in a bucket, pulling a name out, one of you is winning this. There's no money. There's no, jumping through hoops. It's as simple can be. Subscribe, set your notifications so that you know every time new videos come up. Show some support. That's it. Who knows? You might actually learn something while we're doing it. So, yeah. So we didn't get a whole butt ton done today, but you know what we did get done? We got a lot of the mess out of the way. We got a lot of the rat's nest out of the way. We gave ourselves something to look at and say, okay, cool. Next thing to do is what? Is what? What do I want to do next? Do I want to pull motor? Like, what is it I'm going to do next? I don't know yet. But I know one thing is I've gotten myself to a point to where now I can work and I'm not in the midst of all that crap. So what's today's takeaway? When it comes to wiring, it's only as hard as you make it. It doesn't need to be as intimidating as you think it is. It doesn't need to be some like, this is too much, I can't do this. The trick is just cut it out and start over. Just cut it out and go, okay, I can do this. And if you need help on here, it's what I'm here for. Anyway, stay tuned for next time where we will be starting work on that tank and possibly getting some more work done on this. Cool? Cool. Thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. See y'all next time.